Hello and welcome to the show. This week's FailRace versus the community is B-Class Rally Cars. I got off the line terribly. I forgot what controller layout I was using, swapping between 4 and 5, and I completely forgot to change up a gear. So despite having a very good start position, I was absolutely swamped into the first corner and find myself down in around 5th or 6th. As we run into the first corner, and inevitably somebody forgot that we were driving on the short circuit, and there was, I think they only collected one car further back, I'm not entirely sure. There was a bit of a crash towards the back. Every time you run a short circuit, somebody forgets that the circuit we're running on goes straight on at the second or first corner, depending on where it joins off. At the front, though, there was an almighty train of cars all vying for position. I'm not even sure if we weren't trying to go 3 wide at one point through there. It was never going to work. Somehow, though, we all survived. Husky is in the Escort Mark II, you see in the background. And again, we come into the hairpin for the first time. All manner of mentalness is occurring. I'm fairly sure we were 3 wide. The Mini is trying to make up some positions. There's a little bit of a knot with an Escort that takes the shortcut route, didn't really have much choice. Then everything goes a little bit wrong. I'm not entirely sure what happened. I think the Mini swerves to avoid a Fiat, hits me, the Escort hits the curb and rolls on his own. He wasn't touched at all. In the end, me and the Mini go round. Neither of us took particularly heavy damage. The Escort, though, was quite severely broken from the roll. Not so broken that he couldn't carry on, but yeah, taken a few hits. The Impreza that had started on the front, in fact it started on pole, got a good launch of course because it is 4-wheel drive, was gradually dropping back as the attack of the Fiats began. I picked a Fiat because I wanted to be a bit different. I thought this car was a little less likely for people to choose it. I thought, you know, I'll be a bit unique, but apparently no. All of the Fiats appeared. I expected the Escort, Mark II Escort, to be predominant in this race. While there were a few, there weren't as many Fiats, which surprised me. It was all of the classic rally cars we see here. We've got 2 Fiats, an Alfa and a Escort, all in one shot, while the Subaru runs a little bit wide. Not a good idea when you've got a big pack of cars behind you, and the Fiat runs very wide on the final corner as well, and the Subaru loses almost 4 places in 2 corners. The Alfa gets him on the straight as well. Yeah, there was a lot of classic rally cars. I did this, I said no drivetrain swaps because I was hoping to have a mixture of sort of modern 4-wheel drive cars, classic rear-wheel drive cars, and sort of like the lower ranked rally cars in the sort of like the lower ranked classes of rally cars would be front-wheel drive. It didn't happen. Everybody just turned up in classic rear-wheel drive cars near enough. There were a few exceptions, but on the most part everybody was driving rear-wheel drive cars, and it was the Fiats and the Fords that were the most popular. There were a few Sierra Cosworths mixed in, a few Escort Cosworths. We find ourselves towards the back with me and the Mini were both recovering. We had fairly heavy aero damage, but nothing else. You can see the Escort that rolled was smoking. I'm amazed how fast he was going considering he rolled. I don't know how much engine damage he took, but he must have taken a bit of a whack. But the thing was still going in the background. There's a Fiat finding its way past a Celica. There's a Stratos going a little bit sideways mid-corner, which you don't want to do. I think I go round the outside of the Stratos. Somehow I got away with that. It's a scary place to try and overtake around there. The Mini is also trying to fight its way through. The Peugeot, I love the Peugeot. It is an excellent car, but it's not exactly competitive. Unfortunately, it's an amazing car to drive, but in B-Class, it's just not competitive. Towards the front, and there was an almighty battle going on for third between a Renault 5 Turbo, a Alfa GT, I think it's a GTA, and Husky's Escort was about to join in as well. I was surprised to see the Renault 5 doing as well as it was. These cars are notoriously tricky to build and set up because they are tiny. They have a very, very short wheelbase, which tends to make them very, very twitchy. Of course, they've got the engine in the middle, has a little bit better weight distribution than some cars, but it is incredibly twitchy trying to build one of these. So this car was doing pretty well. At this point, however, right behind him, he had an Alfa and Husky's Escort were both in there, and both were, I think, a little bit quicker cars. The Sierra Cosworth had got to the front and was starting to pull a little bit of a gap on this 3. There was a Fiat in second as well. Yeah, there wasn't a huge selection of cars, not quite as many cars as I was expecting. I thought we would see a bazillion Imprezas and Evos. We barely saw any. It's not too bad a turnout. It's more of the classic classic rally cars. As we come onto the straight though, the Renault has huge straight line speed. The Alfa's very fast as well. Husky's Escort was struggling a little bit, and it all comes down to how you build your car. Do you go for better handling? Do you go for straight line speed? The Renault was very fast accelerating. I suspect it's to do with its engine position. Gets very, very good traction out of the corners. The Alpha, I think, is a little bit faster overall in the straight line, but the Renault can accelerate so much quicker and get a lot more grip out of the corners, you see there. And Husky's car was fantastic through the corners and terrible on the straights. Pretty much, as you can see there, they were both left in for dead down this back straight. The Alpha is all over the back of the Renault trying to find a way past. He's having a bit of a look. Can't quite get the move done there. It is an overtaking spot in there. I love the Hockenheim short circuit for doing races on. It's a great track because every single corner, except for possibly this one, although you can overtake through there, but every single corner around here you can overtake on near enough. We come up towards the hairpin now. The Renault's run a little bit wider than he would have liked. We've got the Alphas up the inside. Husky's looking around the outside in case anything goes wrong, and still they battle. There's a little bit of a touch between the pair of them, and unfortunately the Alpha runs out wide, and then Husky's Escort almost drives into the back of the Renault. Not sure if he actually did or not, and then runs out over the drag strip. And yeah, it's a great little battle going on here for third. Husky's Escort's all sorts of sidewaysness over the curve, and the Alpha's going to get the Escort in a straight line. There wasn't a huge amount of excitement elsewhere. The field got a little bit spread out. You can see the leaders up front, but on the most part this was the most exciting battle that was going on, and the Alpha finally gets the move done into the hairpin. He runs a little bit wide on the exit, and now the Renault's trying to get a cutback, can't quite get it alongside, and now Husky's having a look, trying to find a way past the Renault. He takes a much better line. While them two are battling, of course, they're going to slow each other down. They're taking different lines, they're taking defensive lines, and Husky can manage to get a better exit out of the second part of the final corner, and then he is past the Renault as well. And while the Renault has my English just died. While the Renault has incredible straight line speed, Husky managed to get a good enough drive out of that final corner to hold his position. He's on the inside for the first corner. The Renault's not given up though. He's trying to go round the outside as they run into the second corner. However, Husky has got a much better car through the corners and can hold the position. At the front though, the leader was, I wouldn't say unchallenged. There was a Fiat behind him, was keeping him honest and was slowly catching him a lap, but they were just going to run out of laps before the Fiat could actually catch up. Yeah, start at the front, get away at the front, and then drive a clean race and not panic when you see the car behind you starting to catch up. In the end, yeah, they got a little bit lucky. They got clear of the Renault early on, and as the Alpha and Husky's Escort were sort of stuck behind the Renault 5, these guys managed to get clear, managed to pull out quite a big advantage over the rest of the field. Sorry, Sierra. If I called that an Escort earlier, I do apologise. Sierra Cosworth runs very wide on the final corner, gets away with it though, and I think the Fiat does a bit of a celebratory slide as he's going to come in second. All round, it wasn't too bad a race for the first one, despite this slightly manic first lap. Further back, the Subaru dropped quite a way down the order. I think the Subarus just aren't that competitive in B class. They have quite a high starting PI. The Stratos though ran wide at the final corner, allowing the Subaru past, and the Escort ran wide as well, allowing the Fiat past in the background. So it was an exciting finish further back. I had a fairly uneventful race climbing back up through the field after my little incident. We move on to race 2 at the Twin Ring Monteghi East circuit. I could never say that right first time. I'm not a massive fan of the Twin Ring circuit. That's a real hard word, real hard combination of words to say. I don't really drive here very often, but I thought I'd give it a go, give something a little bit different, a different track a go. I tried to go around the outside of 2 cars at the first corner, was never going to happen. However, I'm more than happy to slot in behind them. I had a fairly good start this time, didn't forget my gearing, didn't mess up my start, which is always a good thing. However, everything goes wrong again through here. A Sierra gets sideways, the Escort gets into the back of him, I have nowhere to go, and the Fiat behind me has nowhere to go, and Husky drives into the Fiat that was behind me. What happens is me and Husky, well, I'm quite broken aero-wise. Husky's car is completely destroyed. He took loads of engine damage, I think, or quite a lot of engine damage anyway. I took aero damage. The Fiat that went into the back of me took aero damage, and as did the Escort. The Sierra got away without any major issues. He just got a nudge. Things like that, you just can't avoid them when that kind of thing happens, when there's sort of 15, 16 cars all piling through there. There is nothing you can do about avoiding that sort of a crash. At the front though, and there was to be a change of leader as one of the Fiat goes around the outside of the Alfa as it puts a wheel on the grass. Good thing these are rally cars. There's also a Sierra in the background keeping up with them. There's also a Triumph, I think that is. That's the slightly different interpretation of the rally car-y thing. I guess those things did road rally a long time ago. The further we got into this, the more interesting the interpretations of rally cars became. The first race was sort of your generic stuff, and here there's a few more odd ones. Either way, the Fiat, while quick through the corners, does struggle in the straight line. You can see the speed of the Alfa. The Sierra Cosworths are even faster, although he's quite a lot further back. The Alfa's trying to go around the outside. There's just the tiniest of touches that's enough to unsettle the Fiat and put it on the dirt. And of course, while them two are sort of scrapping away, yep, you've got the Sierras right there. The Triumph's not even that far behind them. Little touches like that, you know, you don't mean to do them. In fact, that even looks a little bit like lag. The Fiat got it very wrong, going through there, a little bit too much oversteer, bumped the Alfa on his way back onto the track. Yeah, that, I'm not even sure. There was the tiniest of touch, and as you sort of turn in your car, if someone gets on your inside and just gives you a little nudge, then yeah, it's not intentional, it's just sort of part of racing. Either way, the Sierra was past the Alfa, and the Alfa was slowly starting to drop back. Further back, there was some good racing going on down here as well. We have a very slidey Subaru here. I was racing with a Mitsubishi Starion, and I wasn't expecting to see this race. I was expecting to see Subaru versus Mitsubishi, but not an Impreza versus a Starion. Yeah, I'm not sure how this Impreza so slidey. I guess he's got the diff set more to rear-wheel drive biased. I'm not sure quite how it works with the diffs, if you can actually make these things rear-wheel drive, but that looks far more slidey than a normal four-wheel drive car should. I don't know. Either way, the oversteeriness let the Starion pass. In the background there's a Fiat and a Escort. In fact, not these two, sorry. The Fiat and the Escort were racing, were close together. At the front, and the Sierra had found its way past the Fiat just because of the straight line speed of this thing. It is monstrously quick in a straight line compared to the Fiat. However, when it comes to the corner, you can see how much of a gap he's got at the end of the straight, and then we go through the corner, and the Fiat is right back on him. And again, this is the choice. How do you build your car? Do you want to go for straight line speed and try and hold on through the corners, or do you go for lots of grip in the corners and then pray you can get far enough ahead before you get to the straights? This track, you really want a car with straight line speed. There are a few fast corners that you need grip for, and the Fiat in the background's on two wheels. However, there are also some very, very long straights. Unfortunately, this battle is cut short as the Fiat makes a mistake. I think he had a wheel on the grass, and I think he saved it. Didn't quite go all the way around, but lost quite a lot of time. This is the battle between the Escort and the Fiat. These guys both damaged in that opening crash. They got off better than me and Husky, but they both had fairly significant aero damage. They were making their way through the field. They are up with the Subaru and Mitsubishi battle. Trying to overtake a slidey Impreza through here has got to be pretty scary. That sight on your inside as a Subaru going sideways, yeah, that probably wasn't a huge amount of fun. The Escorts were pretty good in a straight line, or this Escort I should say was pretty good in a straight line. Again, it comes down to how you build it. I guess Husky went for more handling parts. You could fit a Sierra Cosworth engine in these. I don't know if this one is powered by a Sierra Cosworth engine, but I was experimenting with cars beforehand, and you can get a Sierra Cosworth engine in B class and still have most of your handling parts, you know, your race tyres, your race brakes, your race suspension. So if you went for that option, you'd have a very quick car in a straight line, but of course through the corners it would probably be a bit of a handful, and if you have aero damage, I wouldn't want to have driven one of the scarier, probably the faster of the straight line Escorts, but I wouldn't want to have driven one of them with full aero. That will quite significant aero damage. For the back, the Fiat, as you saw, it had a big mistake, had a bigger almost off, and he had dropped back, was now fighting with a different Sierra Cosworth. I think he spent his entire time fighting with a Sierra Cosworth, and you can't quite go that way around. Almost, well done for trying, almost got it all the way to the outside at that final hairpin, but couldn't quite keep it on the road, and then the Sierra is pretty much gone when they get in a straight line. The Sierras were really rather quick. They're probably the fastest car here in a straight line. I'm trying to think if there were any. I didn't notice anyway any that were any quicker. So yeah, the Sierras were a pretty good choice of car. Of course, they don't quite have the handling, but on this track, they were probably the car to have of all of them. My Fiat, I think, would have done pretty well. It was going well, despite being broken. Husky got unlucky, got broken very early on, and I think his car would have struggled here at best. Either way, our leader and our winner got away at the start, got away cleanly, didn't get involved in any of the silliness, and he set some very quick lap times as well. You can see there's no one anywhere near him. So one of the Sierras takes the win. I believe a Sierra came in second as well. It managed to get past the Triumph, who made a mistake. For me, it was another sort of race through the field and try and make up as many positions as possible. I got a little bit sideways there, managed to find my way past a Starion, and now I was up behind behind the very slidey Impreza, although it's still quite blooming fast in a straight line, which meant it wasn't going to be an easy overtake. All three of us were in a line as we come down the back straight. I'm looking for a way past. The Impreza's gone to cover the inside, so the only option I have is to try and go round the outside. And unlike the other Fiat that ran off, this time I managed to just about keep my car on the road, give the Impreza a little bit of a bump, and there we go. I managed to get 2 positions on the final couple of corners. I was pretty pleased with that finish. I still only ended up in around 5th or 6th, not entirely sure on that one. We move on to our final race at the Sebring Club Circuit, and me and Husky had good starting positions. We were, we're not sure which side's first. I think I might have been first and Husky was 4th. We started on the front couple of rows, which is always good. There's a Raptor in the background. Yeah, don't ask. I don't know either. I guess it's Dakar Rally. The first corner, though, was remarkably tame for Sebring. Everybody got around with only minor sort of bumping and aero damage. Husky's Escort was struggling on the back straight. This MG was absolutely flying. And, of course, the Renault 5 was also not bad in a straight line in the background. You've got a Sierra Cosworth again going rather quickly. It's all manner of chaos behind, but all fairly clean. I don't think there's any broken cars at this point. A little bit of aero damage on some, but nothing too bad. The MG is going to be held out wide as the Sierra takes a dive up the inside. There's a little bit of a bump between the pair of them. The MG's not given up yet. He's trying to go around the outside of the next corner, outbrakes himself at front. We're all too wide as well through there, and unfortunately the MG drops back behind the Subaru at the front, and it was all the classic rally cars. 2 Fiats, an Escort and a Renault 5, an incredibly fast Renault 5, and while Husky was doing his best to try and keep up with the Fiats, he had no answer to the incredibly fast Renault here. That thing was mighty quick in a straight line. I think I had a little bit more speed than the other Fiat that Renault's gone through. Outbraked himself a little bit, and there's a bit of a nudge between the pair of them. I had a little bit of straight line speed advantage over my other Fiat. The other Fiat, though, was pretty good through the corner, so it was a case of kind of hope and defend like mad. As I've said many times, if you have the fastest car in a straight line, it is a little bit easier to defend because they're not going to be quite as close to you in the braking zones. The Renault, though, was now giving the other Fiat some trouble, which is good for me. I could make a bit of a breakaway. Further back, and we had some more Renaults. The Renaults were probably the most popular car in this final race. I was surprised to see so many of these. Again, it was a bit of the battle of the Renaults, and there's an Escort in there for good measure. Yeah, these cars were pretty damn quick in a straight line, and the one without aero was even blooming faster. Not the easiest car in the world to drive, though. They both blitz past the Escort Cosworth in a straight line. However, under braking, the Escort's having none of it and takes a dive up the inside. The blue and orange Renault just didn't expect it, and had a little bit of a knock, a little bit of a coming together, but they both got around. You know, I don't think there's any damage really done in that. Yeah, there were some quick cars in a straight line, but there's still some pretty tight corners around here. The MG was also rather fast in a straight line, and Husky was having some issues with his Escort. He just didn't have the straight line speed. Again, I'm not sure how he built his car. I suspect he built his car very similar to me, so it's all racing parts on first. He's gone for big racing tyres and aero by the looks of it, and he just had no straight line speed. He was so close to the back of that MG through the sort of first corner section. Now the MG is gone, and there's another Escort right behind him. I would imagine the Escort behind him is running a Sierra Cosworth engine, because that thing was fairly rapid as well. However, you see, through this next section where there's some tight twisty corners, Husky can pull away from the pair of them, or catch up to one of them, pull away from the other Escort. He's trying to go around the outside of the MG. I'm not quite sure what happened to the MG there. Suddenly slowed in the middle of the corner. Husky manages to get the move done. The other Escort's got a wheel on the grass and does a nice cutback to move up a position as well. Yeah, this wasn't Husky's most successful FailRace versus the community, shall we say. Yeah, just got unlucky in the first couple of races, and this track really did not suit his car. Elsewhere, and there was, I think this is for 4th, a battle between a Sierra Cosworth and a Subaru Legacy. Yeah, not the particular battle I was expecting to see. Either ignore the Raptor, he was a lap down. I think his controller turned off at some point. Not sure. Either way, the Sierra managed to get alongside and dives up the inside. Yep, that's another good overtaking spot if you've got the straight line speed. And the Sierras were causing problems. This Subaru I guess it was fairly good through the corners, but you know, you can't keep up with sorry, not the Escorts, the Sierras in a straight line. And it's the downside of running a four-wheel drive car. You just don't have as much PI to play with. You can't have as many upgrades because four-wheel drive automatically makes the car quite a lot higher PI. And so yeah, the four-wheel drive cars did struggle. Somebody was driving a Suzuki SX4 thing, so well done to you for being interesting and running something different. This was quite a lot further back. There was a lot of good racing in this one, which is nice to see. It's always nice just to be able to flick through the replays and go to various different positions and find some close racing. That's what I like to see. That's what we want from these sort of races. And the Suzuki is trying to find a way past the Escort. Escort leaves the door open. The Suzuki thinks about it, manages to get his own braking completely wrong, and goes off to visit the grass and loses a little bit of momentum, a little bit of time, but I'm sure he'll catch up back onto the back of the Escort. There we go. I think I will get there in the end. I do apologise, it's late. Anyway, the battle for the Renaults was still ongoing. These two battled for the entire race, I think, or fairly close anyway. As we run into the first corner, the superior speed of the blue and orange Renault 5 gets him alongside, and it's a very brave lunge into the first corner. Well done for getting that stopped. As yeah, when you go into that first corner, it looks like he had his back brakes locked up because that was sliding like mad. Yeah, that's a brave move to put your car up the inside there, and somehow he got it stopped. I'm not sure, but yeah, the blue and orange Renault 5 was really very fast in a straight line, and while this black and yellow one was good through the corners. Again, this track sort of favoured the straight line speed cars a little bit, although there are some tight corners. There's also one nasty curb that hadn't claimed any victims yet, which surprised me after the roll on the final corner at Hockenheim, which I wasn't expecting a car to roll at that point. Yeah, the corner here hadn't claimed any victims. Husky's race wasn't going the best ever. He dropped back behind the MG again, and he very nearly rolled it. That's possibly save of the day. I haven't seen I haven't seen very many cars roll off that curve. The problem with the Escorts is they are very, very prone to rolling. They're probably the most prone to rolling of all the cars that were here. At the front, and after there's a distraction of the Renault 5, my breathing space was all gone again, and it was now, I think, a straight up 2-lap race towards the end. I was defending for my life. The other Fiat was considerably quicker, well, not massively quicker, but just enough to be hounding me over first position. So yeah, I was having to drive incredibly defensive to try and hold him off. Again, you can see I'm holding the inside line. He's trying to look around the outside. You can get around the outside there, but since we're in identical cars, it's quite tricky to do so. I then hit the curb a little bit too much, get my car slightly on two wheels, start going sideways. Not what I wanted to do. As we run through this next section, the Fiat's on the outside of me. I'm trying to go defensive. He's going to go all the way around the outside. I'm being careful, trying to give him enough room if he does try that. And again, we're now side by side. I've got the inside line. I can defend. However, he's just got more grip than me and manages to drive right around the outside. However, he's now on the wrong sort of line through this section. Sure enough, he clatters the curb a little bit too much on the inside, and now he's run wide. I can get a better drive out onto the front straight, and now it's just a drag race between two fairly even cars. Then we may have bumped doors there. I'm entirely sure. Got a little bit close as we run into the first corner. I, however, am on the wrong side. I don't really want to be on the outside. The first corner here, you can overtake on the inside, but going around the outside is very unlikely. It's a very tight hairpin. And in the end, I have to concede the position. For me, that's going to be overtake of the evening, managing to go around the outside of me in two corners, and then sort of stay on the inside for the next bit. It's very well driven by the other Fiat. I'm then sort of having a look into whatever corner number this is, I'm not sure. I clatter the curb a bit too much on the entrance and get a poor run off it. And now I'm thinking I'm in trouble. I'm too far back, and again I clatter that curb too much, get a bit sideways. I'm a little bit too far back really to try anything in these final few laps, or these final few corners, sorry. This is the final lap. Fortunately for me, the rather large curb was to claim almost its first victim, as the guy in front just attacked the curb a bit too much and got up on two wheels. He saved it, didn't roll, but that pretty much cost him the race, as I managed to scoot up the inside. And yeah, there's nothing he can do about it. There's only a couple of corners left. The Renault 5 all the while was pretty close to us, And I'm not sure, there's a Sierra Cosworth a bit further back. Yeah, there's an unfortunate sort of second to third to last corner, whatever corner number that was, for the other Fiat. A little bit cheeky win for me. I'll take it though. I didn't have any issues with the curbs, so yeah, I'll take that one. Further back though, there was a very close finish between an Escort, Mark II Escort, and a Subaru Legacy. This Escort was incredibly quick in a straight line, while the Subaru was considerably ahead as they come onto the back straight. The speed of this thing, yeah, that's really quite quick. Just drive straight around the outside of him, and he just about makes it as they go across the line. Yeah, that's a pretty damn close finish. In the end, in the background, the orange and blue Renault beats the black and white Renault, and Husky ended up quite a long way down the order. I'm not entirely sure what position he ended up in. Anyway, that is it. That is it for this week's FailRace vs Community. It was good fun, actually. I didn't have the most successful of evenings, neither did Husky. We ended up broken in quite a lot of them, but well, it was quite good. For next week's FailRace vs the Community, it is going to be held on, I've got to look at my calendar again, I always forget to check the blooming dates, the 5th of December, it's a Thursday. It will start at 7 PM GMT time. If you wish to sign up and take part, then you can on our forums. I will put a link into the description, and then you can go there and you can sign up in the FailRace versus the Community section. The cars that we are going to be running, well, I tried to have a mix of drivetrains, and everybody just resorts to using rear-wheel drive cars. So next week, we are going to be running four-wheel drive cars only. We're going to be running them in A-class to give the cars a little bit of chance to have some upgrades on them, since a lot of four-wheel drive cars start with higher PIs. So we're going to be running A-class four-wheel drive cars. I'm going to say, can you please not fiddle with a differential? Just leave the differentials as standard. I know I can't police it, but please do not have a race differential. You've got to run the standard differential in the car, so that you cannot change it and make your car effectively rear-wheel drive. I'm not sure if you can make it completely rear-wheel drive, even if you do the settings to full rear-wheel drive, but just, yeah, please be sensible. I don't want to see these cars converted, sort of semi-converted to rear-wheel drive. Make it interesting, race fairly, please. As far as banned cars go, I don't think there is any. I forgot to check the leaderboards. If there is, I'll put them up in the forum post, but I don't think there will be, because all the A-class leaderboard cars are Elises and Lotus 211s and Alpha 33s. So yeah, get building your A-class cars. We haven't raced A-class for a while, so it should be interesting. However, that is it for today, guys. So thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.